Morning folks. Right, well, I'm back in the garage. For once I'm actually squeezing this in during the daytime because quite frankly I'm going mental with office work right now. I leave for Andorra for our main season on the 20th, no, I arrive on the 23rd in Andorra, so I'm leaving on the 22nd. Would normally be leaving a few days earlier than that, but it's been so crazy busy that this year I'm having to leave later than normal. So anyway, I'm going to sneak in a bit of time back on the bike. So I'm just scratching my head because I think I'm all good, but the chain rings, or this inner chain ring, I think looks kind of like it mounts back to front, which is a bit weird because it comes with, so I've taken, basically the rings are not new. They are actually the original chain rings from 28 years ago. However, I have bought some very sexy Suntour XC Pro cranks. Now, I'm reusing the rings because full cranksets are ridiculously expensive, and also I kind of quite like the idea of having some things that are original, especially if they're utterly fine. You can see how little distance this bike has actually done when you start looking at the fact the chain ring teeth still have anodizing on them, even though, I mean, okay, some of it's come off. But I mean, yeah, they've barely done any miles. I mean, especially this inner one. I mean, this inner one's almost entirely new, look. It's craziness. So I'm going to reuse the rings, but the cranks that came off this were a bit messy. Actually, I can show you, hang on a second. So when I say messy, they're not a complete state. So this is the new one, obviously, nice and shiny. That's an XC Pro. This is an XC Comp. Now, I wanted to build it up with XC Pro because that's what mine came with in 1990. It should have come with XC Pro, that was the standard kit. But mine, bizarrely, came through from the factory with full XC Pro on it. So I'm rebuilding my bike, not the spec bike. Yeah, you can see this one's obviously been on the bike for many years, and this one hasn't. So these are new, new old stock, as we keep saying. So same crank length. So yeah, I just need to get these assembled, which is a slightly boring job, just sticking some bits and bobs together. So let's go back to time lapse, shall we? Because I don't think you want to watch this in normal speed. Anyway, got the chain set assembled. Took me a little while to get that worked out because, well, I don't know whether I caught it on the time lapse or not, but I managed to drop it and also drop some nuts and bolts on the floor, which wasn't very convenient. Found it all though, all good, it's all fine. So yeah, annoyingly, there's some spaces in there between the little ring and the crankset, which were very fiddly to sort of keep in position whilst you were fitting other things, despite my gluing, greasing type of approach. So right, gonna get these fitted and torqued up, and yeah, then that'll be done. Cranks are on. A little bit of looseness in the bottom bracket, so I have to adjust that out. Found that the caps don't go on as far as I thought they would, but hey, they're definitely up tight. As you can see, I was being a little bit obsessive and just greasing the crank caps as well, just to make sure they were sitting in flushly, or even flushly. Right, so next up, I guess we'd better start fitting some other bits. So what should we start with? Start with the brakes. I reckon the brakes next. So full brake set here, all brand new. Another new old stock set of kit. So we've got regular front brakes, Suntour brakes, obviously. bizarrely, I've ended up with 2 sets of those, don't ask me how. And also ended up with 2 sets of rears. Yeah, very confusing. Anywho, so what you've got is the front brakes are pretty regular cantilever brakes. Nothing particularly exciting about that. However, the rear brakes are a tad unusual, let's say. These are what are called Suntour self-energizing brakes, and what they do is basically, you can see there's a long barrel. You compare that to a regular one, look. You can see there's something weird going on there, right? So what this actually does, in very simplified terms, is basically it's like a helical coil inside it, and what happens is, as you apply the brake towards the rim, so as the brake turns in onto the rim, it actually runs on a little rail inside, and it pulls the brake slightly forwards and slightly inwards as you apply it. So that's a rear brake. Yeah, self-energizers go on the back, regular brakes go on the front, and it was an early way of getting a little bit more power out of your cantilever brakes. Did it work? No. Very easy to forget how easy we actually have it. So the disc brakes might seem complicated, but I'll tell you what, I'd rather set up a disc brake than a cantilever. It's such a nightmare. The vagaries of rim width and geometry between the rim and the cantilever boss, you can just spend freaking hours faffing around with them. So yeah, I'm just going to continue faffing around with them. When it takes that much faff just to set up a pair of cantilever brakes, you know there's something inherently stupid about the design of them. Still probably not right. So I'll probably continue faffing with those once they're assembled. I have, however, hit a more major problem, which is that the front brakes haven't been supplied with any mounting bolts. So I'm going to have to source some of those before I can actually put those on, unfortunately. A bit annoying, but you know, these things happen. So yeah, these are going to have to wait for the time being. So back in the box for these. I think that's probably me done for today.